Hi guys, Bo here. Today I'm going to talk about a topic which I formulated into a question. The question is dying for Christ the same as giving up on yourself? I don't know if you ever heard this phrase like you need to die for Christ. It's in the Bible, but I don't know if you heard it at church and wondered what does that actually mean? How does that look? I know for my sake I've tried different way of like how I can die for Christ. For me it's been giving up on addictions, it's been trying to regulate some stuff in my life. It's been trying to find new directions, stop doing the bad things I do and so on. But I also ended up giving up on myself a lot of times, diminishing myself, thinking of myself as something lesser to make God greater. And by dying for Christ, it could also be carrying his cross or following his path. It's expressed in all sorts of different ways through the Bible. But is dying for Christ, does that mean that you really have to give up on yourself? First of all, I think you really need to give up on something if you want to die for Christ. But I think it comes down to having faith that God is working on your behalf. And you kind of need to let go of some of the control for God to do that in a good way. And that, in that sense, you kind of need to let some parts of you die, like your need for control maybe, or your need for what you want to expect. Like you want to expect this to happen and then it should happen. And sometimes I think those things need to die. To be open-minded, to follow the path that God puts in front of you. The other side is that you become self-destructive towards who God actually created you to be. And I think if you do that, then you're kind of missing the mark on the whole dying for Christ deal. I truly think that in Jesus we should become more of who he created us to be, not less. And this comes down to the nature of our God-likeness. He created us in the beginning to be like him. And through the restorative power of the resurrection of Christ, we should experience to become more of ourselves when we die for Christ, not to become less of ourselves. We should experience that we grow bigger, our hearts grow bigger, our compassion grows bigger, our feelings grow bigger. We should experience to grow and to get bigger. But that does not mean that God becomes smaller. Because when you walk with God, he will become even bigger, even faster. And if you have God and he's this size, and you're kind of this size, and maybe one day you become this size, but God is this size, then of course you will have become smaller in comparison to God. So it's all about perspective. But I truly believe that the restorative power of the resurrection of Christ is for us to grow and mature into what he actually created us to be. And that will be fulfilled on the new earth and the new heaven. I truly think that only by dying for Christ can we start to walk on the path to become what God truly created us to be in the beginning. And it's simply because we finally get to establish a relationship with the one we're created in the likeness of. And by getting to know him, we get to know who we're supposed to be. And we get to live in a freedom where we can just follow him and we will naturally grow and become closer to him and thereby become more of ourselves. But to come back to the start, then dying for Christ can actually also become Christian perfectionism. Or peer pressure can happen. You have to die for Christ in this way. Everyone else does it, now you have to do it in that way. And when that happens, I truly think it's important to remember to let Christ restore what needs to die. To let him tell you, you need to let this die so I can restore it, so I can build you up and I can make you more like me. And in that way, we can kind of steer around some of the perfectionism and performance culture that we sadly have in the church. I hope that this small talk on a major topic has been helpful. If you would like me to dive into the Bible with the whole dying for Christ and dive into the specifics and maybe make a longer video about that, then please leave a comment and also like it to let me know, and maybe I'll take you up on the challenge.